Thank you for joining us here this afternoon. Um, as many of you may know, I served many years in the House of Representatives here with Mazie Hirono when we were both members of the House. And, I thought she did a terrific interview yesterday, and the news was good. So just wanted to start by wishing her all the best as she proceeds to her treatment for her cancer. Certainly, I thought there was lots to feel good about in her interview yesterday. Today, I issued the intent to veto list. As required by a constitution, we are required to give the legislature notice of those measures that we are contemplating veto. I just wanted to remind all of you that just because it's on the list doesn't mean that it is an absolute veto. There are a couple of issues that we are still continuing to have dialogue on as we get to final decisions on the measure. I would like to note that there were more than 200 bills passed in the session in the last couple days, and there are 15 measures that are on this veto list, and that means all the others will become law. Many of them I will be signing. A few of them I might choose not to sign. A couple things I think on the veto list: Senate Bill 2040 relating to aquatic life. The department has significant concerns with this measure. We are committed to working with all stakeholders in this to really define sustainable. I think more importantly, to make resource decisions in and around aquarium fish moving forward. This certainly was one of the measures that I spent a lot of time understanding, met with advocates and those who sought a veto to get a better understanding. Clearly, I know that there are strong feelings on both sides of this issue. Also on the veto list is Senate Bill 410 relating to collective bargaining. I continue to have dialogue with public employee unions, trying to understand their concerns about the balance in collective bargaining. I do believe that we need to have a fair process as we negotiate contracts, and certainly have heard the concerns raised by the unions in advocating for this bill, and we will be continuing to have further dialogue to see if there are ways that we can achieve the right balance between management and labor to be able to deliver quality services to the public. Senate Bill 562 relates to tort liability, and in terms of the beach liability measure, this resulted, which required the Attorney General to defend any and all civil lawsuits brought against the county. And clearly, we thought that this was an overreach. There are a number of other bills that are on the list. Several have technical issues. The cause of the veto is more technical in nature. For example, they tried to appropriate funds to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the state capitol, and clearly our read of the Works of Art Special Fund says that this is an inappropriate use of those dollars. So a number of those measures that are on the veto list are due to technical reasons. And with that, I'll take any questions if you have them.
Governor, House Bill 591, having to do with the Kapalama military terminal. That's not on this list. Is that one
Yes.
you're intending to sign?
We still are looking at it. I mean, we that measure, I was involved as a legislator. As you know, as we proceeded forward with the harbor modernization plan, we did require some relocations in the harbor. And this measure was focused on helping to alleviate some of the increased cost, capital investments that would be required by some of the tenants in order to allow us to make space for the harbor modernization plan.
So no decision at this point.
Yeah.
You're going to be releasing a list of the bills that will be allowed to become law without your signature?
Yes, we're working through that. The focus really was on identifying those that there were concerns are because of the veto requirement. We continue to go through bills, and I'm authorizing bills for signing ceremonies as requested by various groups, and then we'll be working through the bills, each of them individually, and deciding whether I'm signing or allowing those to become law.
You mentioned that there's still a couple, there's still time, this is just what you plan to veto, but there's still time for more discussion. Are there any particular bills that, you are still less sure about vetoing or kind of a little bit more up for discussion than others?
Well, I mean, I do think, for example, if you look at House Bill 575 relating to public lands, that is trying to address a very, very difficult issue with those tenants coming to the end of state leases. And what happens as they approach the end of the lease, they're not able to make capital investments because of the duration of the lease. And this was one of those that was trying to find a middle ground about how to allow these businesses to continue to operate. I'm still kind of going through the technical review had identified an issue with violation of the Constitution. So trying to see if there's a way that we can make the bill work without within the context of the Constitution. So I would say in general, some of the technical, the bills that are on the list for technical reasons, it's probably working through about whether there is a way that we can maybe amend the bill or do something like that to allow it to become law and correct the problems.
Any other questions? Are you guys all sitting on this?
Outside of the bills, can you just address the airport security issue?
Sure.
Problem?
Well, I mean, as you are aware, Director Fujigami did cancel the memorandum of understanding. Clearly, one of the objectives is to define clear roles and responsibilities of the sheriffs who are at the airport. And making sure that there is a clear chain of command to assure the safety and security of our community. And so, both directors are committed to working together to define the roles and responsibilities that would allow us to continue to provide protection and safety and security of travelers.
I mean, there's a concern that the sheriff's role is being reduced and that there are going to be fewer of them there. Do you foresee that happening?
It really is about defining clearly what the roles and responsibilities are of the sheriffs, what kinds of training they would need to be able to do to deliver on those responsibilities. And I think that what we're looking is in the big context of the airport, what is it that we need to do to be able to assure the general public and those flying that that they're safe and secure, and so Sheriffs have been out at the airport now for 15 years. We, in reviewing the roles and responsibilities, found that it wasn't as clear as we needed it to be. And clearly this activity is focused on making sure that those sheriffs who work at the airport will understand what their role and responsibility is and what the chain of command is in terms of making decisions and assuring the public safety.
Anything else, Gordon?
Anybody else?
Yeah, since you're speaking about the airport, some very top leaders in our community have called the airport third world, and it's the first thing that tourists see when they come off the airplane. What is your characterization of how the airport renovations are going?
Well, let me first start by saying this. The airport modernization was approved and authorized by the legislature, and I was a member at that time back in 2007. Just as the modernization of the harbors were approved around that time, 2007, 2008, and there wasn't a lot of construction and modernization happening subsequent. When I became governor, I sat with Ford and said, we need to get these projects moving. They've been authorized. We've collected the funds. We need to stop thinking about what should happen and start doing. And so clearly Ford has been on a mission to get the modernization projects moving. As you are aware, the car rental facility on Maui, after being contested for a period of time, is actually now well on its way, the biggest public works on Maui. On Kona, the same thing. So, I know that there has been frustration, and part of that has been because of the delays in previous action. I think we've done more, invested more, had more projects initiated and in process and completed in the last 3 years than there has been in a long, long time. And, I share Ford's impatience. He definitely understands that our airport is the first glimpse of Hawaii that many of our visitors get. And he's committed to making that experience a pleasant one. But that takes time.
Sorry, Governor, question by proxy. Could you discuss the tax department computer modernization audit? Why the veto there? House Bill 1414.
We are just looking at that. The auditor's office does have a schedule of audits that are being done routinely. So that one is more kind of a question about whether this is part of their regular review of projects. We do have an independent review of the project that is actually part of it, that we get reports back on how it's progressing. And so, this is one of those that we're just asking the question about what's the appropriate way to initiate a legislative audit, and whether passing a bill and doing it in this manner really is the best way to do that.
Could you talk a little bit about your plan to veto House Bill 2?
Sure. So, we do believe that zoning really is a county function and a county issue. The County of Hawaii currently has a process for dwellings on ag property. In fact, the current county rules allow for homes as small as 250 square feet. So it really is about jurisdiction and who's appropriate. We do have concerns about legislation that is overreach on the state's part about legislating zoning. We believe the authority for this action already exists with the county, and in fact, they've actually taken action. And so legislating this, we just felt was not appropriate.
Can you talk about motorcycles, House Bill 727?
Yes. The Department of Transportation is just very concerned about the safety of the highways, and they truly feel like allowing motorcycles, or even though this would be subject to the Department of Transportation authorizing it, they believe that they have sufficient authority under current law in terms of responding to emergency situations, and identifying explicit authority for motorcycles were really not necessary.
Anybody else? All set? Governor, anything else?
No.
Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much.